The first time I saw the wolf, I was 7 years old. It appeared at the edge of my bedroom, where the moonlight couldn't quite reach, its silver eyes glowing in the darkness. I should have been afraid. Any child would have been terrified, but instead I felt something else entirely. Safety. As if some ancient part of me recognized those eyes, knew them, trusted them completely. My name is Elena, and I've been dreaming of the same wolf for 20 years. The dreams became more frequent as I grew older. At first they were simple. The wolf would sit at the foot of my bed watching over me as I slept. Sometimes it would tilt its head as if listening to thoughts I didn't know I was thinking. Its fur was the color of storm clouds, dark gray with hints of silver that caught the light like stars. Those eyes, though, those luminous silver eyes held an intelligence that seemed almost human. By the time I turned 16, the dreams had changed. The wolf would lead me through forests I'd never seen in waking life. We would run together under the moon, and in my dreams I could keep pace with it, my legs moving faster than they ever could in reality. The wind would rush through my hair, and I would feel free in a way I never felt during my actual life. I never told anyone about the dreams. How could I? What would I say? That I dreamed of a wolf who felt more real to me than most of the people I knew? That sometimes I woke up with the scent of pine trees in my nose and the feeling of soft earth beneath my feet, even though I'd been in bed all night? Now at 27, I lived alone in a small cabin on the outskirts of Greystone, a tiny town nestled in the mountains of northern Washington. I'd moved here 6 months ago, drawn by something I couldn't quite name. The moment I'd seen the listing online, I knew this was where I needed to be. The cabin was surrounded by dense forest with the nearest neighbor half a mile away. Most people would find it isolating. I found it perfect. I worked as a freelance illustrator, which meant I could live anywhere with an internet connection. My specialty was book covers, particularly for fantasy and paranormal romance novels. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days painting wolves in mysterious forests, while my nights were filled with dreams of the same. It was a Tuesday evening in late October when everything changed. The air had turned crisp, and the leaves were putting on their final show of color before winter arrived. I was sitting on my porch, wrapped in a thick blanket, watching the sun set behind the trees. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple, beautiful enough to take my breath away. That's when I saw it, not in a dream, not in my imagination, but there at the edge of the tree line stood my wolf. My heart stopped. Then it began to race so fast I thought it might burst from my chest. The wolf was exactly as it appeared in my dreams. The same storm cloud fur, the same powerful build, and those eyes, those impossible silver eyes that seemed to look straight into my soul. We stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This wasn't possible. The wolf from my dreams couldn't be real. It had to be my imagination playing tricks on me, my years of nocturnal visions finally bleeding into my waking life. But then the wolf took a step forward, and I knew. This was real. This was happening. I should have been terrified. I should have run inside and locked the door. Wolves were dangerous. Everyone knew that. But I couldn't make myself move, because in that moment I felt the same thing I'd felt when I was 7 years old. Safety, recognition, home. The wolf took another step, then another, moving slowly, cautiously, as if approaching something precious that might break. As it drew closer, I could see details I'd never noticed in my dreams. The way its fur rippled with each movement, the slight limp in its left front leg, as if it had been injured once. The way it held its head high, proud but not aggressive. It stopped at the bottom of my porch steps. We were perhaps 10 feet apart now, close enough that I could hear its breathing, see the rise and fall of its chest. In the fading light, its eyes seemed to glow even brighter. "It's you," I whispered. The words came without thought, pulled from somewhere deep inside me. "You're real." The wolf's ears perked forward at the sound of my voice. Then slowly it lowered its head and sat down, as if showing me it meant no harm, as if it had been waiting for this moment just as long as I had. I don't know how long we stayed like that, simply looking at each other. Time seemed to lose meaning. The sun finished setting and the moon rose to take its place. A full moon, bright and silver, casting everything in an ethereal glow. Finally, the wolf stood. For a moment I thought it was going to leave, and panic seized my chest. But instead it turned and looked back at me over its shoulder. The message was clear. follow me. I knew it was foolish. I knew it was dangerous. But I also knew with a certainty I'd never felt about anything else that I needed to follow. I stood, letting my blanket fall to the porch floor and descended the steps. The wolf waited until I was close, then began to walk toward the forest. We moved through the trees and it felt exactly like my dreams. The soft earth beneath my feet, the scent of pine and moss, the sound of night creatures stirring in the underbrush. But this time, every sensation was sharper, more real, more present. This time, I was awake. The wolf led me deeper into the forest, following paths I couldn't see but that it seemed to know by heart. We walked for what might have been minutes or hours. Finally, we emerged into a clearing bathed in moonlight. A small stream ran through it, the water catching the light like liquid silver. The wolf stopped at the edge of the stream and turned to face me. For a long moment, we simply looked at each other again. Then something extraordinary happened. The air around the wolf began to shimmer, like heat waves rising from summer pavement. I watched, unable to look away, as the wolf's form began to change. It took only seconds, though it felt like watching something that existed outside of time. Where the wolf had stood, a man now knelt by the stream. He was tall, with the same storm-gray hair as the wolf's fur. And when he lifted his head to look at me, his eyes were the same luminous silver. "Hello, Elena," he said, and his voice was like thunder rolling across distant mountains. Deep, powerful, but gentle. "I've been waiting for you for a very long time. I should have run. I should have screamed. But instead I found myself walking forward, drawn to him as surely as I'd been drawn to this place. Who are you?" My voice came out barely louder than a whisper. "My name is Marcus," he said, rising slowly to his feet. He was careful to keep some distance between us, I noticed. Respectful of my space even in this impossible moment. "And I've been watching over you since the night you were born." "But why?" The question burst from me. Why me? Why all these years of dreams? Marcus's expression was complicated, sad and hopeful and afraid all at once. "Because you're my mate, Elena. My one true mate. I knew at the moment you came into this world. Werewolves can sense their mates even when those mates are human. Even when they're just infants. Werewolf." The word hung in the air between us. Part of me wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. But I'd just watched a wolf transform into a man. I'd been dreaming of this wolf for 20 years. What was absurd anymore? "But why did you wait?" I asked. "Why just visit me in dreams?" "Why not?" "Because you needed to be ready," Marcus said softly. "Because you needed to come here of your own choice. Because I would never force this life on anyone, especially not you. The bond between mates is powerful, Elena. It can feel overwhelming. I wanted you to have time to grow, to become who you were meant to be, without my presence complicating things." He took a breath, and I could see how difficult this was for him. "I visited your dreams to make sure you'd know me when the time came, so that when you were finally ready, when you finally came home, I wouldn't be a complete stranger. But the choice has always been yours. It will always be yours." I looked at him, really looked at him, at this man who had been part of my life for as long as I could remember, even if only in dreams, at these eyes that had watched over me, protected me, even when I didn't know I needed protection. "I moved here because of you, didn't I?" I said slowly, understanding dawning. Something in me knew. Something in me was coming home. Marcus nodded. "The mate bond calls to both of us. But you're human, so it's more subtle for you. More like instinct than knowledge. I hoped you'd hear it eventually. I prayed you would, but I couldn't force it. I thought about my life before Greystone, the restlessness I'd always felt, the sense that something was missing, that I was supposed to be somewhere else, the dreams that felt more real than reality. It all made sense now. What happens now?" I asked. "Now?" Marcus smiled, and it transformed his entire face, made him look younger, almost vulnerable. "Now you decide. You can walk away from this clearing, go back to your cabin and live your life as you have been. I'll respect that choice. I'll always respect your choices." He paused, and I could see the hope and fear warring in his expression. "Or you can stay. Get to know me. Not just in dreams, but in reality. Learn about my world, about what it would mean to be with someone like me. There's no rush. There's no pressure. We have all the time you need." I looked around the clearing, at the moonlight on the water, at the forest that surrounded us, at this man who had been a constant presence in my life, even when I didn't understand what that meant. and I realized that I'd already made my choice. I'd made it 6 months ago when I decided to move here. I'd made it 20 years ago when I first decided that the wolf in my dreams wasn't something to fear, but something to trust. Maybe I'd even made it before I was born, when fate or destiny or whatever force governed the universe decided that this was my path. I want to stay, I said. I want to know you. The real you, not just the wolf in my dreams. The relief that washed over Marcus's face was so profound it made my chest ache. Are you sure? He asked, and I could hear the vulnerability in his voice. Elena, this isn't a simple life. There are dangers, complications, things you can't imagine yet. I'm sure, I said, and I was. More sure than I'd ever been about anything. I've been waiting for you my whole life, Marcus. I just didn't know what I was waiting for. He closed the distance between us then, slowly, giving me every opportunity to change my mind. But I didn't step back. Instead, I stepped forward. And when he reached out to take my hand, his skin warm against mine, it felt like something inside me that had always been broken suddenly became whole. Welcome home, Elena, he whispered. And standing there in that moonlit clearing, his hand in mine, I finally understood what home truly meant. It wasn't a place. It wasn't 4 walls and a roof. Home was this feeling, this person, this moment where dreams and reality finally merged into one. The wolf in my dreams had been real all along. And now, finally, I was ready to run beside him, not just in sleep, but in the waking world as well. Our story was just beginning, and I couldn't wait to see where it would lead. Above us, the full moon shone down, bright and eternal, blessing the beginning of something that had been written in the stars long before I was born. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, perfectly at peace.